Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Remember 11, Age of Infinity. I nearly did the old intro there. Just force a habit, I guess. It's been years after all. Anyway, let's carry on from where we left off, shall we? Uni was squirming under the blankets. What are you doing? I was thinking of listening to this for a little while, when I noticed he was holding a radio in his hand. Didn't you say that the radio was broken? It had just gotten wet before. I opened the cover and let it dry out. Maybe we can listen to it now. Didn't it break because it got wet? Oh, don't you know, Kokoro? There's a way of fixing electronic appliances after they get wet. While fiddling with the radio's dial, Yuni said, if you dry them properly, as long as there are no short circuits, they'll be fine. The speaker picked up some static. See? Yuni tried to tune it, but... Huh? That's weird. I can't hear anything. As I thought, because it got wet. Is that it? Yuni pointed at a red light near the upper part of the radio. Look, this diode's broken. The bulb broke? A diode and a light bulb are two different things. A diode doesn't break like a light bulb. Yeah, it might be a cut wire inside the diode that's the problem. In any case, Yuni was quite calm and collected, yet I could only feel hopeless, anxious, and insecure about whether help was on the way or not. Even Mayuzumi is moping around. Yomogi hasn't said a word since the incident either. I guess he has his own troubles to deal with as well. Is Yuni just pretending to be strong? No, wait. As he tries to fix the radio, he's trying to listen into the news from the outside world to see if the media is reporting anything about us. Of course, Yuni is uneasy as well. I nodded my head in agreement with the conclusion that I'd come to. He doesn't need to be upset because he knows he's going to live. The rest of us will die, but he'll live. Said so in the newspaper. As he tampered with the radio, Yuni's frown grew deeper. Did he get hit by something before? The radio was covered with weird scratches. There was a crack in the front of it as well. Huh? I recognized that radio, but from where? That's right, the day before yesterday. During my fight with Hattori, I'd thrown the first thing that had come to my hand. A radio at her. I made the decision on the spur of the moment. Is that when it was damaged? But that's in the other world. Wait a moment. Why is the radio here cracked just like the one in SPHIA? Not only that, there's the charm too. The charm you received from Mayuzumi and SPHIA. The Uni of the shelter cabin had it as well. Additionally, I combed Yuni's bangs upward. What's wrong? As Yuni stared blankly at me, I could see an old wound was on Yuni's forehead. Isn't this the injury that Hattori gave him the other day? It's all healed now. What does it mean? Where is this Yuni from? Hey, Yuni. I mustered up my courage and asked the question I've been waiting to ask all this while. I chose my words carefully and started to talk about the radio and the wound. Meanwhile, Yuni stayed silent. With a strangely mature face that didn't suit his age, he looked at me. While keeping my voice low so neither Yomogi nor Mayuzumi could hear, I explained what I'd experienced. Then, strengthening my resolve, I asked him, Yuni, have you ever been to SPHIA? Did you come from the future? But if you think about it, it makes sense. Yuni, when you read my palm, you said I'd see a corpse. And I did see one, in SPHIA. That wasn't a prediction, you knew it would happen. Yuni, you said that because you know the future, right? Yuni didn't answer, he just silently stared at me. Not only that, see that newspaper? The newspaper with the article about our deaths? You said that was real, right? Yuni, you knew that we would die like that in the article. Is that why you said it? No, wait, perhaps you brought the newspaper here yourself. Losing my patience, I grabbed Yuni, who'd been silent all this time, by his shoulders, raising my voice as I continued. Please say something. Please, Yuni, what's going to happen to us? Something fell lightly from his breast pocket, something white, soft, like down. I picked it up. This is the feather of a white goose that was stuck in my hair that day, the day I first met Yuni. The angel's feather. Because those simple words would have been so incredibly romantic. My confusion has reached its limits. The charm, the cracked radio, the cut on his forehead, and he has the angel's feather. Yes, a memento, so that I don't ever forget that I met Kokoro. I looked into Yuni's eyes. His eyes were hollow. I don't know what he's looking at. Perhaps he wasn't looking at anything. Yuni, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? All of a sudden, Yomogi raised his face, surprised at my abruptly loud voice. Hey, what's wrong? At that instant... Oh God, he's gonna cry and run away. Yuni let out a strange scream, jumped out of his bed and broke into a run. That's how we're gonna die. We're gonna chase him out into the snow and die. He opened the door before I could stop him. No! Cold air rushed into the room. There was a roaring blizzard outside. Yuni flew out into the raging storm. Yuni! I chased after him in a panic. Yuni was standing in front of the shelter cabin. The driven snow striking his face, he stood there, looking up at the sky. What's wrong, Yuni? He didn't answer. Hey, Yuni. While shielding my face from the whirling snow, I called out to him again. What happened? Did my question cause this? Was it traumatic to him? I won't ask anymore, so please come back inside. Hearing my desperate appeal, Yuni slowly turned his head toward me. And in the furious storm, Yuni smiled. Kagame, Kagame, the bird within the cage. When will you come out? In the evening lit by the dawn, the crane and the turtle slipped and fell. Who's that behind you? Creepy. I said at the start he was creepy. He was swallowed by the raging storm. What are you doing? Yomogi rushed outside and caught Yuni, who was still standing in front of the cabin. You want to get hypothermia again? Yomogi grabbed Yuni and returned to the cabin with him. To shut the door, I had to practically throw my whole body's weight against it. What happened? I don't know, all of a sudden he went flying out. Yuni had his eyes closed. Had he lost consciousness? When you're suffering from hypothermia, you can hallucinate, grow restless, and that outburst might have been from those symptoms. Yomogi laid the back of his hand against Yuni's cheek. He touched his neck and the area around his armpit. Luckily, his temperature didn't drop that much. Yomogi gently laid Yuni down on the bed. A pained expression contorting his face, he shrugged his shoulders. I'm sorry. Will you warm him like you did before? Alright. I embraced the senseless union, wrapped up in his blankets. The limbs that we had painstakingly warmed up earlier were once again cold like ice. Meanwhile, Yomogi presented us with his own blankets as he said, If you're sleepy, you should rest too, Fuyukawa-san. But it's cloudy, but the sun has more or less risen. The temperature will rise a little. While it's daytime, we should try to regain our strength. Yomogi-san? Yomogi pointed at the wristwatch. Please change places with me in a little while. Then please wake me up. Yomogi looked up at Mayuzumi's bed. At some point she'd fallen asleep. We could hear her weak breathing. Yomogi touched the nape of her neck. Was he checking her heart rate? He also placed his hand in front of her mouth to confirm that she was breathing. Let's let Mayuzumi rest a little too. She seems to be exhausted. Yomogi reached out and started to rummage around in Mayuzumi's bed. He was probably fixing her blankets. Then he returned to my bedside. Sleep. Night will come again. Until then... I held Yuni tight and closed my eyes. Is this Yuni really the Yuni from the future? I wanted to know, but he had run away. I can't ask him anymore. I don't want to burden him further. With my eyes closed, I buried my face in Yuni's hair. What is the truth? That newspaper isn't real. Can we stay alive? Lots of problems swept through my mind, but before long I fell asleep. Like that of a newborn baby, a deep, deep sleep. And night came once again. We took turns sleeping until the sun set, but we could barely recover any of our strength. Our food, fuel, and water had been used up. The air inside the shelter cabin was so dry it was getting difficult to even breathe. Yes, the air was so cold that breathing made my lungs cry out in pain. And when you breathed in through your nose, you felt as if the inside of you would freeze solid. Even though we'd had our coats on, and even blankets draped over each of us, they were completely useless as protection from the cold. I couldn't stop my body from shivering like someone severely ill. It was difficult to even move my limbs. Inside the shelter cabin, all conversation between us had stopped completely. We didn't so much as utter the words, "It's cold." Our discoloured lips quavered intensely inside this small cabin enshrouded in darkness. Only the sound of our shaky breaths reminded us that we were still alive. Yuni, who was now asleep and cuddled beside Yomogi-san, looked almost as if he had stopped breathing altogether. We were at our limit. I'd felt this way many times before, but it wasn't until now that I felt the reality of death crawling closer and closer. The god of death, known as Cold, had invaded the shelter cabin and was contemplating whose neck would be the first under his scythe. I didn't know if the phone call yesterday actually made it through. But even if it had, the rescue team probably wouldn't come for us in this blizzard. I breathed out a sigh into my frozen fingers. Are we going to freeze to death like this? Is there nothing we can do but sit here and shiver this way as we wait for death? To get caught up in this bizarre personality exchange phenomenon and die without understanding any of it? No. No. I tried forcing my voice out, as if to make sure I was still alive, but that voice cracked and faded away. I prayed for it in my heart. For hope. For the hope to live on, no matter how small it may be. I wished for a light to reach out to. I wished for a light to lead the way. Without it, we were all going to be crushed by the complete darkness that enveloped us inside this cabin. Day 7. Well, we've survived a lot more days than I expected us to, so I'd say that's a win so far. Countless hours passed. I don't know if the blizzard outside has subsided at all. The snow that had piled up on the roof fell to the ground with a loud thud. Suddenly, Mayuzumi's lips moved. It looks like it's the next day. When I heard what she said, I looked at my watch. I couldn't see very well because it was dark, but it looks like the hands have made their way back till 12 AM. Hey, Yomogi-san. What? You have that newspaper, right? So let's burn that. The newspaper had originally been placed on the shelf, but we'd broken the shelf into pieces for firewood, and the newspaper had since been shoved under my bed. I reached out and grabbed it. It's going to burn to a crisp in seconds. We can't use that as firewood. That's fine, just burn it. Her voice was strong and determined, surprising from someone who looked so weak. Yuni, who had been sitting right beside Yomogi, shifted his body a bit and glanced over. For some reason he looked annoyed. Why do you want to do that? When she heard the question, Mayuzumi went quiet for a moment and then she said, I'm scared of it. She muttered. Scared of what? That newspaper article. It's obviously not real. But it said we're all going to die today, didn't it? It's a sick joke and I don't want it around anymore. Even if you burn it, it's still useless. Yuni's voice was strangely calm. Even if you burn the newspaper, the things described in that article won't disappear with it. Because every single word is true. Shut up! Stop making such sick jokes at a time like this. Spouting off almost every hateful word in the book, Mayuzumi pulled the blanket over her head. But it's the truth. Glancing over at Yuni as he continued mumbling, I opened the newspaper. I want to read it over once more under the moonlight, but the moon was hidden behind the clouds. Not even the smallest bit of light made it through the window. It was so dark I couldn't even read the article. Just as I was about to ask for a flashlight, I suddenly remembered something. I took out the VR from my pocket. I turned it on and pushed the switch. The display on the VR lit up and shone faintly. I could use it as a lamp. Here we go, again. July 4th, Monday, 2011. Heisei 23. 3 decomposed male and female corpses found on Mount Akakura. Missing passengers from the Hell crash? An article from the future telling us that we died. Yuni said the article was real. Before, I probably would have thought it was a joke and laughed it off, but things are different now. There's a chance that Yuni inside this cabin is actually the Yuni of the future. That's why his words have gained some more credibility. This article, it may actually be real. If Yuni has anything to do with SPHIA in 2012, it's not entirely impossible that he had brought this newspaper here. I don't know how he could have done it. I don't even know if he was the one who brought it here. But if the Yuni of the future is here, it's not all that strange that the newspaper article from the future is here as well. I really do come up with the weirdest ideas. But because I've repeatedly experienced the unbelievable phenomenon of personality exchange, I found myself considering possibilities that I'd normally find impossible. It's not that I believe them, but I've come to be able to consider it a possibility. I've come a long way, haven't I? I thought as I smiled bitterly. Right now I wanted hope. The words in that article were words of despair, but if we think about it another way, it's actually come to gain more information about the hopeless future. The events that will happen today can be deduced from the article, and may even turn out to be a big advantage. Perhaps this is the ray of hope that I've been praying for. I don't want to just sit here and wait for death to come. If we're going to die anyway, I'd rather keep fighting until I die. Even though I'm really afraid. Afraid of the threat of nature. Afraid of our destiny of death. Afraid of our despair. Just a little hope is fine, just enough for me to stand up and face death head on. I want my parents and friends to look at my death afterward and say Kokoro did her best. Okay. Giving myself a slight nod, I began reading the article. So as to absorb every word, every sentence, I read on for my life. After reading the article for about 10 minutes, I noticed several very interesting points. I took a note of a few of them. The bodies were discovered 1 kilometer east of the Mount Akakura shelter cabin. Due to the bodies of the victims being discovered away from the route down the mountain, the Aomori Prefectural Police investigation into the day of the death will continue. According to the Aomori Meteorological Station, an avalanche affecting Mount Akakura and its surrounding area occurred on January 17th, 2011 at around 6:53. If this article is real, then at 6:53 we'll be killed by an avalanche 1 kilometer east of the shelter cabin. Something seems kind of suspicious here. So suspicious that even the police were looking into it. Why would we go toward a place like that? It's exhausting just imagining a 1 kilometer long hike through the snow-covered mountain. Besides, we're already at our physical limit. We're about to collapse any second. So why would we head to a place like that? In order to go down the mountain? But the article said we were away from the path down the mountain. Just in case, I turned to Yomogi to confirm it with him. If we wanted to head down the mountain from here, which direction would we go? Yomogi answered with a surprised look on his face. From the entrance of the cabin, head straight forward. A lot of mountain cabins are built facing the path down the mountain. If you follow the path with a compass and headed away from the cabin, you might be able to find the way down the mountain. But none of us have the strength left to make it back down the mountain anyway. I see. I looked beneath the bed. The compass that was on the shelf should also have been moved under here. I took the compass in hand. The door of the shelter cabin faces south. According to Yomogi, the way down the mountain is to head straight ahead facing south. And since we have a compass, there's no way we'd be confused about which direction we're heading in. It's baffling that we, who are trying to find a way down the mountain, would be found a kilometer east of our current location. Plus, how would we have hiked a kilometer in all this snow? I don't know if there's something at that particular location, but I do know that what we were aiming for when we decided to go there. It was so we could be rescued. Right now, if it was me, I'd do the same thing. To predict what we're going to do next, we just have to listen to our hearts. There's no mistake. The reason we were heading there was so we could be rescued, because our biggest goal, our only goal, is to go on living. Then what exactly is there at the place that where we were killed by the avalanche? Let's call it location X, 1 kilometer east of here. Maybe a helicopter that got sent after we got the call through? Why did we head towards location X to be rescued? After thinking about it for a bit, I came up with one theory. It's because... Save. Yeah, rescue team. The rescue team, maybe they can't land here because of the blizzard. Maybe there's a safe place to land over there. Is it because there's a rescue team there? No, that's not it. That doesn't make sense. If that were the case, then the rescue team would have perished from the avalanche too. If it's not a rescue team, then I see now. Last night, Yomogi-san and the others said that they ran out of the shelter cabin because they'd seen a helicopter. If we can take what they said to be true, someone would risk their lives flying a helicopter into Mount Akakura during the blizzard. Knowing that helicopter can't possibly land safely during a blizzard, if you think about the possible reasons for flying in such dangerous conditions, the answer is clear. The reason the helicopter risks those conditions to fly to a mountain where it can't land is to drop off rescue supplies. That's probably what the rescue team was thinking. If there were survivors who made it out of the plane crash, then their rations and fuel would be depleted by now. If things went on like that, the survivors would perish. But because of the violent blizzard, the rescue team couldn't do anything. Still, even then, they couldn't abandon those waiting to be rescued. That's how they risked their lives flying the helicopter. By dropping the rescue supplies from the air, the survivors could hold on just a bit longer. Then, when the blizzard subsides, the rescue team could then be dispatched. But it was simply bad luck. The blizzard was just too strong. Because of that, they couldn't drop the supplies near the shelter cabin. So believing the supplies would be noticed by the survivors, they made the drop at location X. This hypothesis seems to fit. At 6:53 on the 17th, we headed toward location X. There's no mistake. We went there for the same reason that I just concluded was the case. We deduced that the drop point is 1 kilometer to the east of the cabin, based on the direction the helicopter was flying in. Even though I didn't see the helicopter yesterday, the helicopter most likely passed to the east. And that's why we, in the future, headed toward location X at dawn. And in the end, because of that decision, we were all killed by the avalanche. But it's not the same this time. Thanks to the newspaper article, I reached this hypothesis at midnight. I know that at 6:53 there'll be an avalanche 1 kilometer to the east of here. I know at that time we will be killed by the avalanche there. In other words, if we arrive at location X earlier than 6:53, we'll be able to collect the supplies. And without getting killed in the avalanche, we can get a hold of the rations. Found it. That newspaper article from the future that we were all scared of. But now I'm able to take advantage of it for our benefit. I was pretty excited by my own deductions. I felt as if I'd fought against fate and won. The flame of hope burned in my chest. I could even feel strength returning to my hands and feet, which up until now could only shiver helplessly. We can do it. We can save ourselves. No, we will save ourselves. I wanted to let Yomogi and the others know about my deductions, but I quickly shut my mouth. The hypothesis I'd come to just now is based on the assumptions that the newspaper article is real, and Uni is actually the Uni of the future. Just making them believe those two assumptions would take until dawn. Plus, when I asked Uni whether or not he was the Uni of the future, he became frantic and worked up. If he lost control once again, it could cost him his life this time. Furthermore, if I told them by the time I explained everything, and we finally left for Location X, it could be dawn already. If that's the case, our fate will turn out exactly like in the newspaper article. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. A small puff of white breath rose in the air. Okay. Gathering my will, I got to my feet. With everything I've got, I tried to put strength back into my weakened hands and legs. My body shivering had grown less pronounced. Perhaps my body is being warmed by the flames of hope. Placing the compass in my coat pocket, I grabbed the flashlight lying beside the stove. Putting on my gloves, I stood at the entrance of the shelter cabin. What's wrong? I'm going out for a bit. I'm going out by myself to look for Location X. That would be the best for us now. What are you saying? Yomogi, surprised, tried to get up. But with Uni lying listlessly against him, he couldn't quite make it. Move a bit, Uni. Yomogi tries to stop me as he moves Uni out of the way. Uyukawa-san, don't do it. It's suicide. There's a blizzard out there. It's true that there's a blizzard outside. Under normal circumstances, going out there would indeed mean certain death. But I'm not like that. I'm going because I want to live. If the scythe of a god of death is waiting for me there, I'll try to evade it. Even if I have to press on through the blizzard, even if I have to expose myself to danger, I want to save everyone. I'll be back soon. I found a way that may help us all survive this. Yomogi finally pushed Uni to the side and began making his way toward me. He reached out his hand and tried to grab my shoulder. What are you saying? Hey! Faster than Yomogi could stop me. He'll just follow us out though. I burst out of the shelter cabin and raced toward the snowfield in the night. Wait! Yomogi's voice rang out behind me. Please wait for me. I called out through the violent winds that disturbed the snow. It was dark outside. In the darkness and the storm, with the towering peak of the mountains to the east side of the cabin in my sights, I began moving forward. Oh, we're totally gonna die. We should have taken Yomogi with us and just left the other two. Cutting through the darkness of the night with the glow of the flashlight, I advanced. The roar of the wind echoes in my ears. Excuse me. The furious dancing of the snow covers my field of vision. My whole body has already gone numb. Dull pain permeates the skin exposed to open air. I just pushed my way through the snow, continuing to move forward. The slope wasn't too steep. In any other circumstances, it would be a rather easy climb. But with my strength at its limits like this, it's still quite a tough climb, preferable to a sheer cliff, though it may be. I resolved myself to think more positively. After trudging up the hill for a while, the ascent suddenly ended. I'm at the summit. I can't see well through the darkness and falling snow, but it's all downhill from here. From the shelter cabin, it was 1 kilometer east. That's what the newspaper article had said. I checked the compass. This is the right direction. I mustered my resolve and began the descent. How do you know when you've done a kilometer though? Halfway down the slope, doubts began to cloud my mind. Are the actions I'm taking the right ones? I thought that by going to Location X well before the time written in the newspaper, I could avoid the tragedy to come. But there is a but. Was heading to Location X a bad idea to begin with? By going there, am I just going to make what the newspaper foretold a reality? Wouldn't it have been better for me to stay away from Location X? No, that's wrong. That's definitely wrong. I'm trying to set right what once went wrong. I'm trying to change fate. I'm trying to sever the chains of this tragedy. I really believed it. I shook my head back and forth repeatedly and started to throw off my anxiety. It'll be alright. We'll definitely survive. After descending for a while, I began to see sparse trees. Beyond the trees, deep darkness spread out like a bottomless hole. When I used the flashlight to try and illuminate the way forward, the light made the snow clinging to the trees glitter eerily. I was scared. The earlier anxiety visited me again. An accursed history. A fated death. But we will be saved. We will survive. I stepped forward once more. The snow was thick. Even taking a single step was difficult. In places where the snow was deep, I stepped in and was buried up to my thighs. If I could stop concentrating for even a second, I'm afraid I'm going to slip. But as I advanced with determination, I found an easier way to proceed. If you move your legs after pressing the snow with your entire body, you can walk faster. Come to think of it, when we first went to the crash site, I think Yomogi walked like this as well. Is this the so-called rustling? Using my flashlight, I illuminated the watch on my wrist. It was a little past 1 o'clock. The walking speed of a normal human is around 4 kilometers an hour. In my case, my state of depleted stamina has me walking about a quarter of that speed. To walk about 1 kilometer east, I'd have to push on for an hour straight. Just thinking about it makes me want to faint. My strength continues to drop, my limbs are sluggish, heavy like logs, and you're gonna have to carry the supplies back. That's what I'm worried about. Yeah, getting there is one thing, but you have to come all the way back and carry all the supplies with you, which is why we need Yomogi. Moreover, sometimes I'm assailed by a strong vertigo. If I crouch down, I feel like I won't be able to get back up again. If I stop moving, the place where I stand will become my grave. I won't lose. Like hell, I'd let myself be defeated. Cutting through the darkness in the snowstorm with the light of a flashlight, trying to mute the voice of terror within my mind, I advanced through the snow. Was it around 30 minutes after that? I was too tired. I crouched down on the spot. My remaining strength was nearly gone. Not that I had any spare energy to keep walking. But even if I do reach Location X by some miracle, will I have the energy to go back? Besides, I still hesitated. Should I head to Location X? The world given birth to my actions, by my actions. Will it be heaven overflowing with light or a hell engulfed in darkness? Can I repaint history? Or will I merely repeat it? Which is it? What awaits me on the path ahead? Thoughts of my own strength, now at its very limits, crossed my mind together with a tinge of anxiety. What should I do? What if we do a brain swap? We haven't done that in ages. If we do a brain swap, he's going to wake up out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Should I retrace my steps? If I go now, I can still make it. Somehow I knew that. Oh my god, we can't go back now. Right? Right? I don't know. Keep going. No. I can't get discouraged here. This is my last chance. I mean, we're all going to die anyway if we go back. I desperately recharged my flagging spirit and pushed my way through the snow. I just think we should have brought Yomogi. A step. A step. Another step. I steadily advanced. Thanks to the uninterrupted downward slope, it was easy to move my feet. But conversely, I feared I would slip at any moment. With every step I take forward, the accumulating snow hardens and falls in. If I make one wrong move, I'm dead. Clinging onto the trunks of trees, I carefully descended the mountain. Have faith in the hope that I'll live until I reach it. Before I realized it, panting, I'd begun to mutter in delirium. If there is a God, somehow, please, I won't ask you to save me, but please, please watch over me. I'll do my best to save everyone. I'll do my best so I'm neither an atheist nor a person who actively believes in a God, but now I couldn't help but say those words aloud. The things I'd gotten involved with, both at the shelter cabin and in SPHIA, had made my head spin. In my mind, almost like a divine possession, the idea had arisen that all of this was due to the machinations of God. If there is someone watching my struggles from above, I wanted to say, I'll fight. An unbreakable resolution, I want to fight. So it's not that I'm asking you to please hold out a helping hand, but just be kind enough to watch over me. But I knew God was cruel. Alright, I know it's a little tiny bit early, but we're going to stop there. That seems like the perfect spot. So in the next one, we're going to find out if we make it, or if we die in the snow. Or if we make it and then die in the snow anyway. Or make it back and then we all die in the shelter kit. I don't know. It doesn't look positive, does it? I mean, really. But anyway, thanks for watching, Bruce. And I'll see you in the next one.